Yo, what's up guys, it's King Sean here, and in today's video, I'll be talking about free agent wide receivers that the Commanders could potentially target this offseason. So, if you guys are new to my channel, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're not already subbed up, and turn on notifications. And with that out of the way, let's get straight into today's video. Alright, so we obviously have to start off with not only the #1 free agent wide receiver this offseason, but also the #1 free agent period this offseason, none other than Bengals receiver T. Higgins. And T is obviously going to get a lot of attraction this offseason from wide receiver needy teams, including us most likely. Now, it's kind of sounding like the Bengals may have a good chance of bringing him back. Now, me personally, I have to see it to believe it. Joe Burrow, he was down in Radio Row this past week. He was talking about how he's willing to restructure his contract or take a little bit of a pay cut in order to bring back Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson, and T. Higgins in order to give all three of those guys extensions. And I just find it hard to believe that the Bengals will really find a way to keep all those three guys. Now, maybe they do. However, Jamar Chase, he's probably going to get the most money out of any receiver right now. He's going to be the highest paid receiver after he gets paid. T. Higgins, he wants to get paid. And then Trey Hendrickson, he just led the NFL in sacks this past year and has been a really, really good edge rusher for the Bengals over his time with Cincinnati. So he's going to be pretty expensive as well. So I just don't know if they'll really find a way to be able to pay all three of those guys. But hey, we'll see, right? But if T does become available, then you guys already know he's going to be pretty expensive. Right here, I have his market value being $28 to $32 million. I say $30 million is probably the most amount of money I'd pay him, because Brandon Ayuk, he got $30 million last offseason from the 49ers. And you could say that T. Higgins is better than Brandon Ayuk. Looking at his stats, he posted up 911 yards this past season with 10 touchdowns, and that was playing just 12 games, right? And that's the issue with T. Higgins, right? You know, injuries. He hasn't played a full season since 2022, so 3 seasons ago, right? Or 3 years ago, right? So health is an issue with T. Higgins, a little bit of an issue. However, I'd still sign him, right? Like, T. Higgins is a beast of a receiver too. If we were to sign him, I'd look at it as like a receiver 1A, receiver 1B with him and Terry. So I wouldn't even look at it as him just being our pure #2 wide receiver, because he would kind of sort of be our 1B from Terry's 1A, right? So T. Higgins obviously would be a great addition. Just money-wise, it's going to be a little pricey, like really pricey. And there's teams like the Patriots who have over $120 million in cap space, and the Patriots are willing to pay a receiver big money. Last offseason, they were willing to pay Brandon Ayuk like $32 million, and the Niners had the trade on the table, but Ayuk denied to go to the Patriots. He was not going to sign that deal because, I mean, who really wants to play for the Patriots, right? Especially last season, right? Maybe he would have taken that offer now because, you know, they fired Gerard Mayo. They got Mike Vrabel, who has proven that he can lead a team to success. Maybe he would have signed the deal this offseason, but last offseason, heck no, right? So with T. Higgins, it's really what he wants. Does he want success over money, or does he want the money over success, right? And if it's money over winning, success, then I could definitely see him signing with the Patriots, because the Patriots, they ain't scared to throw a bag at a premium receiver like T. Higgins, right? But hey, man, if T. Higgins is willing to take a little bit less money and come play for a contender like us, then sign me up, because he would be a perfect #2 or 1B option to Terry, and a great #2 receiver option for Jaden Daniels. Next up, we have Chris Godwin, and Chris Godwin is a guy that if we don't get T. Higgins, I would be very interested in Chris Godwin. He has been a really good receiver with the Bucs. Obviously, has spent his entire career with the Bucs so far, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he decides to go back to the Bucs if the Bucs do offer him a brand new contract. On his previous contract extension with the Bucs, he was making $20 million a year. So I say, with, you know, the salary cap going up every single year, receiver contracts becoming more and more expensive every single year, I see Chris Godwin receiving somewhere between $23 to $27 million, which honestly isn't bad. I look at guys like Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith last year. Devontae Smith got $25 million a year. Jalen Waddle got $28 million a year. I think it's very reasonable to say that Chris Godwin gets somewhere between that 23 to 27 or $28 million range this offseason because he is a really good wide receiver too. Now, obviously, the biggest concern with him is that ankle injury, the season-ending ankle injury he suffered earlier this season. Only played 7 games, 50 catches, 576 yards though, and 5 touchdowns. So those type of stats while only playing 7 games is really, really good. But, you know, the season-ending dislocated ankle injury may be a concern for some teams. For me, not really, because I remember back in 2021, late 2021 season in like December, he tore his ACL, but he did make it back in time for the season opener in the 2022 season, right? So if he tore his ACL so late in the 2021 season, then I have no worries really that he'll be back in time for the beginning of the 2025 NFL season, with obviously coming off of the dislocated ankle, right? So I think Godwin should be back by like training camp time, and if he's back by then that's really good, right? So I would definitely sign Chris Godwin. Looking at his stats over his entire career, has posted up 4 1,000-yard seasons, 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons from 2021 to 2023, and he is a really good slot option. First of all, he does a good amount of his work on the outside as well, but he does do a lot of his work in the slot. So just having a guy with that versatility, he'll be a really good number 2 option for Jayden Daniels and a legit wide receiver to Terry McLaurin, obviously, right? Which we know Terry absolutely needs, right? We've been trying to look for a legit receiver 2 for him, and Chris Godwin, in my opinion, would be that for him, right? So Chris Godwin, he is definitely a guy I would be interested in, and I think the money you would have to give him would be a pretty reasonable amount. Moving on, Darius Slayton. He's a pretty interesting free agent wide receiver. I've heard some of our fans talk about how he would be a pretty solid wide receiver 3 option in our offense, which I don't disagree with. I like Darius Slayton. I'm not going to lie. I feel like he put up really solid numbers in New York. Anytime he played us, it seemed that he just cooked us every single time. Like, I remember in 2023, the first time, or the second time we played the Giants, actually, he had that touchdown, and Tommy DeVito was starting that game, right? So we were so bad in 2023, but Darius Slayton, he put up pretty solid numbers in his time with New York, and it seems like he's not going to resign there because I know he wanted a new contract last offseason. He didn't get it, so they just restructured his deal, and he's set to become a free agent this offseason. So he's definitely a guy I would target to be like a receiver 3 option. He has put up 4 700-plus yard seasons with New York, his highest being 770 yards back in 2023 on 50 catches and 4 touchdowns to go along with that yard number. So overall, he's put up pretty solid statistics with New York, and that's with bad quarterback play for the most part, right? Like Daniel Jones obviously isn't a great quarterback, and he's put up with other backup quarterbacks as well, like Tyrod Taylor, Tommy DeVito. I know they had Drew Lock starting with them for a couple games last year, so he's put up with pretty bad quarterback play, yet has put up pretty solid numbers in New York overall. So having him as a receiver 3 wouldn't be too bad in my opinion. Now, how much would you have to pay him? I would say his market value would be like $8 to $12 million. His previous contract extension with New York, he was making $6 million a year, a 2-year, $12 million deal. So with the salary cap going up, obviously receivers getting paid more, I would say he could make like $8 to $12 million a year. I would personally give him like $8 to $10 million a year. I feel like that's really good, especially for a guy like Darius Slayton, who would probably be coming here to be your wide receiver 3 option, which in my opinion wouldn't be a bad option at all, because like I said, he put up pretty solid numbers with New York with pretty bad or mediocre quarterback play. So imagine what he could do with a guy like Jayden Daniels, right? So Darius Slayton, definitely a guy that I would like to bring in as like a receiver 3, not anything more than that. And once again, I'm not pounding the table on him or anything like that, but he would be a cheaper option at receiver this offseason. And if Adam Peters in the front office decide to target him, then I definitely would not be mad at it at all. Next up, we have Stefon Diggs. Figuring out Stefon Diggs' market value was kind of difficult because he is getting up there in age, obviously. He's 31 years old right now. He's going to be 32 by the time the regular season starts. So he is getting up there in age. Now, with the Texans this past season, he actually wasn't too bad until he got hurt, obviously. He only played in 8 games, so half the year because of the injury, the torn ACL. So that might be a bit of a concern if you want to sign him, of course. But he did have 64 targets, 47 catches, 496 yards, 3 touchdowns. So not bad for Stefon Diggs at all for a guy that played only half the season due to injury, right? Now, obviously, with Stefon Diggs, he is a bit of a diva. When it came to leaving Buffalo, he was making all these posts on Twitter, you know, kind of taking shots at Josh Allen and the Bills organization. So he is a little bit of a diva, right? And I don't know if I want him in Jaden's ear after he's not getting the ball enough or something like that. Like, I don't know if I want that, right? I don't know if we need that in the locker room. However, if we were to sign Stefon Diggs, his market value, I have it at $13 to $18 million a year. And this past season, he made $22 million, I'm pretty sure. So that is a lot for a guy that age. Not really sure exactly what a team would pay him. However, I feel like it'll probably be around that 15 to 18 range or 13 to $18 million range, right? Stefon Diggs isn't a bad receiver. He's still, you know, got a good amount of juice left in the tank. And if you were to bring him in for maybe a year or two, then I don't think that would be a bad idea. Now, is he my first option? No, not even close to my first option. I honestly would sign Darius Slayton over him. However, if AP in the front office decided to bring him in, I would understand it because, you know, he is a veteran receiver, right? He's still a good receiver. He's not what he once was, but he still is pretty good, and he was pretty solid with the Texans this past season before he got hurt. But once again, he wouldn't be my favorite option personally. But I want to know what you guys think about Stefon Diggs. Would you sign him, or would you go in a different direction at receiver? So those are my thoughts on potentially signing a guy like Stefon Diggs. Now I just want to go over this list of free agent wide receivers. We obviously already talked about Stefon Diggs. He's not my preferred option, but if they did it, then I would understand why they did it. Anything AP in the front office decides to do, I'm just going to trust them and trust that they made the right decision. T. Higgins, obviously my number 1 option, so obviously would love him. Keenan Allen, I'm good on him. Amari Cooper, I'm good. Deontay Johnson, I'm good. DeAndre Hopkins, I'm good. Brandon Cooks, Mike Williams, I'm good. Robert Woods, I'm good. Marquise Brown is interesting. Obviously, he has the connection to Cliff Kingsbury from Arizona, but I think I'm good on him. Darius Slayton, obviously, I would like him as a receiver 3 option, so would not mind signing him at all. KJ Osborne, hey, any of y'all want KJ Osborne? Obviously, good on him. Demarcus Robinson, he wouldn't be bad to bring in as like a receiver 4 or receiver 5. Wouldn't mind adding him to maybe round out the receiver core. Nelson Aguilar, I'm good. DJ Chark, I'm good. Ashton Dulin, I'm good. Mac Hollins, Tyler Boyd, Zach Pascal, Zay Jones, Elijah Moore. He's interesting, 25, young. He would be like your slot receiver kind of, but I'm not too interested in him. Braxton Berrios. Nick Westbrook-Akina, he's interesting. He had a total of 500 yards this past season and 9 receiving touchdowns. So he wouldn't be a bad like receiver 4 option, but anything like more than that, don't really love him, right? So wouldn't mind bringing him in, but at the same time, not my top choice of receivers, of course. You see other guys on here. Olamide Zaccheaus, I think we're going to bring Ozzie back. Really good blocker, and he's a good receiver to have to round out your receiver core. So that is it for free agent receivers. I named the free agent receivers that I could see us potentially targeting and the guys that I personally prefer us to target. So that is it for today's video. Hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like down below, subscribe, turn on notifications, comment down below what free agent receivers do you think the front office and Adam Peters should target this offseason? And other than that, it's me, King Sean, and I'm out. Peace.